novel passage, historical passage, or scientific passage. Today, the last lesson about the outline of the passage. Today, just we are going to talk about two passages, how I can read in the final exam or in the final test of SAT, how I can read the passage. Two passages, okay, in the final exam. Two passages in the final exam, always or sometimes historical passages, okay, two passages, okay, as you see in the, okay, in the final exam. Today I am going to talk about what about two passages, how I can reading the paired passages or two passages, okay, in the final exam, okay, if you can see that, okay, okay, this is passage, okay, this is passage, then passage 1, passage 2. How I can read the two passages or a paired passage in the final exam? Sometimes or always historical passages, as you know. How I can read, okay, in the final exam? Every passage, okay, small passage, it's not so long in the final exam about the paired passage. The same thing as I did in the final or the last lessons. Start, we have a blurb, okay, start, we have a blurb for two passages. We have blurb for the two passages, okay. We have blurb, we are start by reading the blurb, okay. The blurb is a small paragraph, okay, and the above of the blurb says, okay, because it gives us what some information or the source of the passage. So we can start by reading the starting by reading the blurb. As you know, blurb in the two passages we have one blurb. Read the blurb. It is so significant as it introduces, as you know, what it can introduce in the blurb. Okay, blurb can introduce what? Three things in the two passages. How I can read? It's the author, it introduced the author and the theme. Okay, it introduced the author, okay, and the theme, and what can introduce? It introduce the reason in the two passages, the reason for the passage and time frame. Okay, introduce the author, the theme, time frame. Okay, time frame, as you know, when the historical passage happened and what is the period of this passage. Okay, we start by reading the blurb, the author in the blurb, the author and the theme, and the reason for the passage, and time frame, and three historical events during that. Sometimes introduce historical events during that period. In this period, okay, we have in the blurb. Okay, we have one blurb for the two passages. Okay, we read just the blurb. In the blurb, we can see it's so significant. Why? Because introduce the author and the theme. And for example, the reason for the passage and time frame. Why they're writing this passage? Okay, historical events in the blurb. Historical events during that period. In the blurb, as you know, introduce historical events or the time when this happened. Okay, after reading the blurb, okay, when we finish reading the blurb in the two passage, we have two, passage 1, passage 2. In the final exam, we read what? The introduction. Okay, this is the last lesson about the reading introduction in the two passages. For every passage we have what we have introduction. Introduction, as you introduction, as you know, every passage we have introduction. In the introduction, as you know, of the passage one, we start by reading the introduction of the first passage. Okay, we start reading the introduction because we have two passages in the final exam. Read the introduction of the passage one. Read the introduction of the passage one. In the introduction of the passage one, we have the theme. We have what in the introduction? In the blurb, we have the theme. But in the introduction, we talk about the theme in details, or the author that will talk about what in the author will talk about, and it holds the main idea. Okay, in the introduction, we have what? The theme. In the theme, we have the main idea. The author, it will talk about it. Okay, two passages. We start. We have one blurb for the two passage. We read only one blurb. We don't read to read. Okay, all the. For example, we have blurb for the passage. For the passage two. No, we have only blurb for the two passages. Introduce what the author and the theme. Why this is passage written, or the reason for the passage, and historical events. Sometimes, for example, the historical events or circumstances during that period. In the introduction, the first passage, first passage, and we read the introduction of the passage one. Why? Because it introduces or holds the main idea that the author will talk about, and it holds the main idea. If, as I said, if it is big in size, just read the first half of it. I repeat that. If it is big in size, read the first part of it. Now we talk just about the introduction of the first paragraph or the first passage. After reading the blurb, we have one blurb. Read the blurb. Read the introduction. Okay, if it is in big in size, as I saw, it's so small. All the passages we don't have long paragraph introduction. First sentence, as you first sentence. Okay, blurb, introduction. Okay, first sentence. Okay, of every paragraph. Okay, first sentence from period to period of every paragraph. After I read the introduction, we start reading the paragraph. Follow the introduction by reading just what? Reading the first sentence from period to period of every paragraph. The author in the, after reading the author, as I say, the author what? Because we talk about what? We talk about historical events. We talk about what? About historical events. All sometimes, all the passage of the two passages always came, and about historical events, about American history. First sentence from period to period of every paragraph, the author changed what? The time, place, or the character. Okay, this is as you see the same ideas. Change the time, place, or character. Okay, this is okay, as you know. The author changed the time, place, or the character. Every sentence, when you read, okay, you can see another time or another place or another character. Okay. The first sentence of every paragraph of the passage 1. Now we talk about the first passage. Some ideas, you should be careful. You should be careful. Some ideas that seem to have no significance. You, for example, read some sentences in the first passage, seem no significant for you. No significant for you, okay? Those ideas seem to be significant, seem to be important once or while you encounter them again while you reading passage 2. Those ideas either consistent or contrary to the passage 1. Okay. When we read the first sentence of every paragraph, in this first sentence of every from period to period of every paragraph, the author changed time or place. The first sentence of every paragraph of passage 1, sometimes some ideas that seem to it's not important for you. But when you face or the same ideas or those ideas seem to be significant once, where you encounter them again while you reading passage 2. Those ideas, okay, or consistent with the tone of the passage 1 or contrary to the passage 1. Okay, we have, okay, you should be careful. Some ideas, okay, in the first sentence, some ideas is not important or seem it's not important. When you encounter them again in the second passage, is so important. Okay, while you're reading the passage 2, those ideas either consistent or contrary. Those ideas, if you repeat again in the second passage, okay, consistent or contrary to the passage 1. Okay, contrary to the passage 1.
Sir.
Yes? Yes? Yes, Omar?
Sir, can you repeat the blurb? Because I came a bit late.
I don't, can you repeat please?
Can you repeat the blurb?
Faith of Blair? Yes?
The blurb, the first point.
Okay, now I can, okay, just, okay, I can repeat that again. We have one blurb for the two passages. One blurb. It's so significant because the author and the theme or the reason for the passage and, for example, time frame or historical events during that time in the blurb. For example, first sentence, okay, when we finish, when I am going to finish any lesson, you can ask me any questions. Okay, I can answer every question. Okay, conclusion. Okay, conclusion. Okay, for conclusion. Conclusion, in every passage we have conclusion, the last paragraph of every passage we have, okay, conclusion. Read it of the passage 1. We read the conclusion of the first passage. Big in size, if it's the conclusion, big in size, read the second half of it. Just read the second half of it. It got what? The conclusion, for example, confirmation or assert what? The main idea and the tone of the passage. Okay, and the conclusion we have main idea, السات, or confirmation the main idea, or what? We have the tone of the passage. Tone of the passage. Okay. We have new ideas when you see the first paragraph, ideas, and repeat in the second paragraph the same sentences. Is so important to these sentences because it gives us those ideas either inconsistent or contrary. Read ideas, as I said, read ideas that after the transitions. However, but, okay, again, while, if you have free time, it's optional. Why? Because contrasted or supported or the reason. This is, I talked, what can you do about the first passage, blurb, introduction, first sentence of every paragraph, first sentence of every paragraph from period to period, conclusion. Okay, repeat the same thing for the passage 2. In the passage 2 we don't have blurb, we have blurb for the 2 passages. Okay, read the passage 2 as you did for the passage 1, as you did for the passage 1. Okay, 7, find the relationship between the 2 passages. It's so important. Okay, this is you should be careful and pay attention. Find the relationship. Find the relationship between two passages. What is the relationship between the 2 passages? After you read the first passage and finish everything, for example, as you did for the passage 1, did for the passage 2, after that you should find the relationship between the 2 passages. Find the relationship between the 2 passages. Okay. Compare between the 2 passages. For example, you can let your mind, okay, for example, just 5 seconds, okay, can you repeat what you read in the first passage and what you read in the second passage and compare between the 2 passages. Find the main idea of the passage, of each passage, okay? Okay, the first one, compare. Okay, you should compare between the 2 passages. What you read in the first passage and what you read in the second passage. What is the relationship between the 2 passages? Find the main idea. Find what is the main idea in the first passage and what is the main idea of the second passage. Find the main idea of each passage. Okay, main idea of each passage. Okay, find the relationship between them. After you finished this, find the claims that have mentioned in both passages. Okay, you should know claims, okay, in the 2 passages. Okay, compare, find main idea, find the claims that have mentioned in both passages. Then find claims that have mentioned in the both passages. 4, find tone of each passage separately. For example, the tone of the passage 1 and the tone of the passage 2, which is positive or negative. You should be careful and find the tone of each passage. Okay, why? This is so important. Okay, compare, find main ideas of each passage, claims for tone of each message. Okay, I am going to give you so important ideas for the tone of each message. How can these tones come in the final, okay, in the final exam? For example, you can find 20%. For example, you can write for the tone. I am talking about the tone of each message. 20%, 20%, okay? 20% paired messages, both negative or both positive. 20% both messages positive or both negative, okay? And then you should write, okay, this is so important because, okay, 20% both positive or يعني the first message positive and the second message positive, or both messages negative. The first message negative and the second message negative. This is 20%. 20% in the final exam. 30%. Okay, this is okay. We can elimination. Okay, we can use 30%. 30%, for example, paired message. One is positive and other is negative. Okay, one is positive and other vice versa. Okay, one is positive and the other, okay, is negative. One is positive and the other is what is negative. Okay, for example, positive, negative, or negative, positive. 20% both messages the same tone, negative, negative, or positive, positive. 30% one is positive and the other is negative. 50% is so repeat in the final exam. 50% is so important to know the tone of the every message. Why? Because some answers, okay, should be consistent with the tone of the message. We can use elimination, okay, when you, for example, elimination two answers, you can, for example, check the right answer quickly. 20%, one is positive, 50%. One is positive or negative, while the other one is both positive and negative at the same time. One is positive or negative. Okay, one. Okay, you should be okay. One is positive or negative at the same time. 50%. One is okay. One is positive or negative, while the other one is both positive and negative at the same time. Okay, while okay, the other passage both negative and positive at the same time. Okay, I repeat. Okay, 50, for example, 50%. One is positive. For example, the first message, positive or negative? The first message. Okay. The first message is, for example, the first message is negative or what? Negative. Okay. One is positive or negative. Why? The other one is both. The other one, or the second paragraph, both positive and negative at the same time. I am talking about the tone of the passage. After you finish, okay, everything about what you read about the first message, and after you read the second message, after reading the blurb, we have one blurb for the two passages. Read the blurb, introduction, first sentence of every paragraph from period to period. Okay. After that, in the first sentence, you can see what the author changed, the time, place, or the character. Some ideas consistent or contrary to the main idea. Conclusion, main idea, and the tune. When you finished and you did the same thing with the first passage, did the same thing with the second passage. Okay, find, when you finish everything, find the relationship between the two passages. After finished, okay, compare. Okay, after you find the relationship between the two passages, compare. In your mind, okay, 5, okay, just 5 seconds, okay, to compare between the two passages. Find the main idea of each passage. Okay, 3, find the claims that I have mentioned in both passages. 4, find the tone of each passage separately. Okay, what is the tone of the first passage and what is the tone of the second passage? Okay, which is positive or negative? You should be careful about the tone. Scientific passage, historical passage, literature passage, or paired passage. You should know the tone. Okay, today I am talking about the paired passage. The tone of the passage, 20%, 20%, it's very low, both positive or both negative. Both passage, يعني first passage positive, second positive. First negative, second negative. It's 20%. 30%, 30%, slow. One is positive and the other is negative, or the first passage negative and the second passage positive. It's 50%, 50%, one, the first passage, negative or positive. You should be careful or attention what I say. The first passage, positive or negative, positive or negative. While the second passage, positive and negative at the same time. Any passage can be answered without reading at all. You don't need to understand, please, you don't need to understand the whole passage. Time and our aim is to answer every passage correctly. This is the outline of the two passages. Okay, tomorrow I am I didn't finish my lesson. Okay, it's remaining meeting time 9 minutes. Okay, I am going after 9 minutes. Tomorrow I am going to practice how you can answer, how you can choose answers. How can, for example, quickly, for example, eliminate the most incorrect choices. You should be careful. Use the eliminating. Delete. Okay, delete, for example, the most incorrect choices. On difficult questions, you will be able to focus on your attention on the few choices that remain. For example, if you delete 2 answers, okay, for example, you can choose the, for example, the choices or the few choices that remain. It's so important to know, for example, the way of important. For example, select and understand the questions. If you don't understand the question, you don't, for example, able to answer the question. Some questions, for example, in the SAT or in the final exam, use, for example, different ways. For example, you should select and understand a question. read what you need. Read what you need, not what you need. For example, don't start by reading, for example, questions, for example, that start main idea or evidences. Start by reading, for example, by reading the reference line. For references lines, some questions have reference lines or lead words. When you read reference lines or lead words, don't start, for example, first question, second question. It's wrong. You should start by reference lines or lead words. After that, when you read, you can read everything easily and you can get the main idea. For example, read the blurb, select and understand a question. Okay, 5. For example, the general questions come first. What is the main idea of the passage? I am talking about all the passages now. For example, the general questions come first. What is the main idea of the passage? What is the purpose of the passage? Okay, the general questions come first, followed by the specific questions. You don't start by answering first question, second question. It's wrong. For example, start by reading, for example, the reference lines. For example, some questions as, for example, line 437. You should start by answering this question. Some questions, for example, have lead words. Okay, lead words or reference lines. When you finish or reading these questions, will be able to find what are you looking for and quickly. Okay, it's wrong to start by reading the questions, for example, first, second. You should start, as I said, by what line references or and lead words. It's, for example, have a good number of, it's not okay. We have a lot of questions, reference lines, line references, or lead words. This is okay today. This is a general idea about the two passages. Tomorrow, inshallah, I am going to start about how can you answer this question when I can, start by reading in the final exam. The first question leave out or last for the last question. Why? Because if you want to know the main idea of the passage, you should answer, the following questions. Tomorrow I am going to talk about every question and in details. Inshallah, after that I am going to do all what you need in the final exam about reading section. Okay. This is the lesson of today. Inshallah, the two passages we finish outline all the passages. Outline in the two passages. Okay, I am talking about the outline in general. Tomorrow we are going to specific details. For example, everything we are going to talk. How, for example, questions that, for example, contain words imply or suggest or infer. Okay, it's very easy questions, inshallah, and I hope to get high marks in the final exam, inshallah. Any question? Okay, this is.
Yes, Master.
Yes, okay, Bashar, do you have any question?
Sir,
No, I don't.
It's clear.
I don't.
Okay, I advise you to carry on to watching my lesson. Why? Because it's very useful and you can see that, for example, when you, inshallah, when you, for example, how we can do this question, how can, for example, eliminate wrong answers. Okay, this is useful for you. At first, you maybe don't like or don't love SAT but it's very important to know how to answer these questions, because as you know, for example, anything or in the answering the questions in the fine should start by specific questions, not general questions. What I mean by general questions, the first questions, what is the main idea of the passage? This is general. For example, some questions, for example, have reference lines or lead words. This is you should start. When you read this, you can get, okay, the main idea of the passage or the purpose of the passage. Okay? Okay, any question?
Okay. No,
Omar?
I don't have
Mister,
any.
I have a question.
Okay. Bashar?
I don't have any question.
Any question?
Same.
Okay, clear.
Mister, I have a
Any
question. I have a question.
Yes,
Mister,
yes.
the claim. What is the claim?
Claim, for example, what do you want the author in the passage? What, for example, historical passage. For example, the claims. What the author want in this passage? Ideas. Okay. For example, in the tune, for example, claims, ideas or aims of the author for why writing this message. Aims or ideas or claims why the writer or the author write this message. Okay? Claims.
Okay.
You can, for example, check up in your dictionary and find what claims. Check up in dictionary, for example, Cambridge Dictionary. English. Please don't use English Arabic dictionaries because it's not useful for you. As SAT student, you should use English dictionary. Okay. Any question? Clear? Tomorrow?
Sir,
Yes. Okay.
the blurb.
Yes.
I can't see what is written beside it. I don't understand.
Blurb in the two passage, you can, for example, you can find the author, the name of the author, or historical events. You can see that after that in blurb you can see historical events, or for example the theme or time frame. Time frame, I mean what the time of this passage. What is the time of this passage? The theme, the author, or historical events, you can find it in the blurb, because the two passages always historical passages in the final exam. When we come to passage one, passage two, or historical passages. Okay.